I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be here with you guys tonight for the introduction. Teresa Ali, I love you all so much. I was listening to Kuna talk about your conference in Toronto. Cindy's from Louisville. She's wonderful. I just was with Kent last weekend. Bob D, like what a lineup. You guys are going to have a great time. Make sure to get there if you can. I'm doing something different tonight. My phone, I hold on to things forever. I've had this phone and the speaker is not working right. And I said, something's wrong with my phone. And my friends are like, honey, you've had that phone for like 6 years. It's time for, but I hang on to things, but it's working with my earphones. So I'm going to do that. My name is Amy Spain Duncan. I am an alcoholic. My sobriety date is March the 6th of 2010. And I am excited to share my experience with Step 11. And it's not like I'm a slow learner. And I thought I was doing all the steps. I really did. I was leading Big Book and I was taking women through the steps. And, my prayer life was good. And, and I was still so angry. And I came in mad. Just know that. I came off the streets. I was hostile. I viewed the world as a hostile place. My perception was off. I was angry. I was an angry, bitter, violent woman. Violence was, I've heard it said violence is the last resort of a limited mind. And I must have had a very limited mind because I'm a bully and I'm an intimidator. And when I'm affected, when I am frightened, when my instincts are things, I get big. I get big and I get loud and I point my finger and I furrow my brow and I get aggressive. And that is me telling you to get away. That's what fear looks like on me. I now know that that's what fear looks like. So some animals curl up like an armadillo and others are grizzly bears. It's a primal instinct and my fight or flight seems to be stuck on fight. And I get big and loud and scary to get you away. And that's my MO. And I learned that the first time I did the steps. I knew I did those things. I knew I did that in 6 and 7. Um, a friend of mine said if there was a word to describe me when I first got here, it was unapproachable. And I laugh and I say, I meant to do that. See, I do that on purpose. I set off this air of unapproachable. I'm big and I'm loud because it keeps me safe. And we crave safety. And it was the only way I knew to be safe was to scare you off. And I got sober. I got sober in spite of this, right? Um, and I did 6 and 7 work. And then I started to see how me being that way, where the price was being paid for that. So it started with my kids, right? Because um, there were things they didn't tell me because they feared what I would do, not to them, but to other people, right? I had this reputation. My dad was mugged one time, and my family kept it a secret from me. And when I finally found out, I said, my God, it happened, while I was in the madness. And then when I got sober, I found out about it. And I was like, why wouldn't you all tell me that? That dad, that's awful. And they said, Amy, we didn't know what you would do. And I was like, well, what do you mean? We're always appalled about our own behaviors. And they had thought that my stepsister had been involved somehow in this. And my dad said, I was afraid you would go burn her house down. And I said, I might have. Like that wasn't out of the realm of possibility because I served this wrath. But what bothered me was this terrible thing had happened, this event, this trauma, and that my father wasn't safe to discuss it with me because of my bullying and my intimidation and these character defects I carried. So little by little, this started bothering me. And so I don't know if you guys ever did this, but I thought 6 and 7 meant God, I'm going to get my character defects in a headlock, and then you can come down and you'll zap them away. I didn't know that he's going to remove them, right? Uh, so I'm fighting against my character defects. I'm trying to be a better person. I'm beating my head on the wall. I cussed out my boss at 3 years sober, and not just quit the job, frightened them, frightened them when I was quitting the job. Uh, 5 years sober. So I'm going along. I'm still sober. My home group's telling newcomers, don't at Amy, just she'll 12 stomp you. Even in the delivery of the message, I was aggressive. Do you want to live or do you want to die? What is your choice to be? I took this part, I give it raw and uncut. I was just hurting people's feelings. Thank God at 3 years sober, I got it. My sponsor got drunk and I had to get a new sponsor, and and she's still my sponsor today. One of the first things Belinda said to me was, why are you yelling at people? And I was like, so they can hear the truth. And she was like, oh, honey, the truth doesn't have to be yelled. It just stands there all by itself. And I was like, well, what if they don't get it? And what if they do? She helped me remove my ego from sponsorship. And she told me my job is to give them the information. What they do with that information is between them and God. So things started to kind of shift, right? But I'm still having these moments of rage, these outbursts of anger, these times when I'm just like, why do I act like this? It's always afterwards. 5 years sober. My son had hooked up with a little girl down the street, and I knew that house was bad news. I know when I'm in my own company, and I'm watching bad news going on down there, just not a place you want your kid, or I don't want my kid. And I kept telling my son, don't go down there, don't go down there, don't go down. And of course, he would sneak out and go down because he's in love with the little girl down the street. So one day, in a fit of rage, I go down the street and I kick in my neighbor's door, literally, not figuratively, like literally. I kick the door in, the door slams open. I threatened to kill everyone in the house. And I meant it because I'm acting in fear because I'm worried about my son's safety. So I come back on my poor husband. He's in his front yard mowing. And I walk back in the house right past him. He turns off the mower. He walks up the street. He's like, I see you met my wife. So the problem is, I don't know what she's going to do either. So still real chaotic. These moments of spiritual bliss and taking one through steps, but these rage keeps showing up. It's not gone, and I'm in tears. And I call my sponsor, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I be nice like Ali? And why can't I control this rage and these bursts of anger? And why do I get like this? And Miss Linda said, honey, are you ready to work all the steps? And what do you mean? I work all the steps. I take women through the steps. I lead a big book. I do service work. I'm chopping the wood. I'm carrying the water. I'm doing Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm in the middle. And she said, honey, the second half of step 11. And I had to think about it. And it was at 5 years sober that the necessity for step 11. See, I was pushed into step 11 by self-imposed crisis, right? She said, I want you to get in the 12 and 12, and I want you to read step 11. And I want us to really work on this because you pray. Prayer is easy. But step 11 says prayer and meditation. And in the big book, it actually says following a period of meditation, we pray. Right. So the meditation comes first and then the prayer. And I was skipping that part. And then step 11 and the 12, it tells me why. Oh, I have ADHD. I can't do it. Oh, I tried it once. It didn't work out. I can't sit still. My thoughts keep racing. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to let Ali meditate and tell me what he learned. And then I'll learn, vicariously. And so I did all those things. But finally, sick of my own self, I started to explore meditation. And the 12 and 12 gives us the prayer of St. Francis. And I love Bill. He says, on a sunny beach, go to the mountains, And if you have ever done a guided meditation, that's exactly right what they tell you. Like, imagine yourself on a sunlit beach, and all these referrals to the sunlight of the spirit. And so for me, the practice of meditation began with a YouTube guided 2-minute meditation, and it was awful. I don't know what they said. My brain ding 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 ding. Ding. But I made it to the I sat still for 2 minutes, and I, had the intention of, following along. And I did that over and over. I made a commitment to meditation just the same way I made a commitment to my home group, and a commitment to my sponsees, and a commitment to meet with my sponsor, right? A commitment to my child. So, like any commitment, because I keep commitments today. I'm sober. That's something I do. I try to do what I say. I say what I'm going to do, and I do what I say, and I stick to it. That's part of the integrity, that comes with Alcoholics Anonymous. And there's a few outliers where things have happened, but typically, it's imperative. It's important to me that I keep my commitments. And so I made a commitment to explore meditation, even if it was just 2 minutes a day on YouTube, guided meditation. And then, like, I heard stuff, right? And so I'm doing this every day. I got up to a 3-minute meditation. I was excited. I'm like, boy, I'll be levitating soon. Like, people are going to come to me for advice, right? I'm killing it. And then I would do and I cheat at night. I like to do the uh, sleep meditation. So if you fall asleep, you're supposed to, right? I'm like, I meditate twice a day. I'm doing a morning meditation. I'm doing a nighttime meditation. And that was enough for a beginning. That's how simple it was. So for me, the fact that I hadn't done that for 5 years, it's a wonder. I mean, I, I I was chopping the wood and carrying the water. I was taking the actions to stay sober, but definitely the character defects, the rage, the emotional deregulation. Um, but here's the neat thing that meditation does, and that's the topic and that I had mentioned earlier. So on page 105, my dad died in 2019. This is his 12 and 12. Smells like cool cigarettes and coffee. I love it. It reminds me of my father. Perhaps one of the greatest rewards of meditation prayer is the sense of belonging that comes to us. When I felt like I belonged to Alcoholics Anonymous, right? And I felt like I belonged in my support group and things like that. But as a spiritual being with all of God's other children, meditation connects me to the oneness, the namaste, right? The great source, the sunlight of the spirit. And it makes it harder if you and I are connected and I feel that connection, if I sit in that sense of knowing of the sunlight of the spirit and all God's children and how we're all here together, when I sit in that, it's a lot harder for me to attack you. It's a lot harder for me to kick in your door or be hostile or aggressive towards you, because now I see I'm kinder to me, right? I have compassion and tolerance for me. And in meditation, that expands. And now I'm capable of patience and tolerance for you. So now those character defects are falling away. Now I don't get as rageful. Now I don't get as angry impulsively. Now I used they used to tease, my early recovery. She shoots past the pause, right? The pause when agitated or doubtful. There was no I would pause after. Oh Lord, what have I done? What have I said? Right? But there was no pause from mad to action, usually bad action. The pause wasn't there. Meditation gives me the pause. And I love the way, Bill in 1935, like meditation has been practiced for so long. In the Western world, we're just late to the show, right? We're late to the game here in America. And we're late to the show. And but all major religions teach meditation, all these things, and it's such an interesting subject when you get into it. And Bill, says if you're religious, do this. And I have found these writers and these explorers of spirituality that I love. I'm reading interpretations of the Tao. Like who would have thought that I'm a street drunk who kicked in her neighbor's door sober, and now I'm reading the this one I gotta tell you, this is one I just got me grabbing off the coffee table. The soul of sponsorship, the letters between Father Dowling and Bill, and the relationship they had, the love these two men shared. And meditation allows me to experience that, not just read about it and its knowledge, but in meditation, I get into this source, into this feeling, into this expansion. And honest to God, I came into Alcoholics Anonymous and I wanted what you had. And they said, if you want what we have, do what we do. Right. So I have these superheroes, these idols, right? And Teresa's one of them. And Teresa talks about her relationship with her higher power. And I'm blown away. You're married to God. Like, what does that even mean? Like, but this meditation, right? So they all had this one thing in common. Tim, home group members, my sponsor, like they all had this thing in common. And what they had in common was this continual seeking. They seek through prayer and meditation. They sought through prayer and meditation. They didn't stop. They keep doing it and they keep growing. And this is what I love. The promise says we will grow in effectiveness and understanding. Wow. Wow. And I would, what these lines are from on my face, they're called the 11s. They're because all my life I look at people like, what are you doing? I lack understanding. I have no understanding for why you're behaving that way. You're talking. I just look at people confused all the time, like, what the heck? What is going on? Why are they doing that? What did they say? That's ridiculous, Totally just confused that the world, they have reduced with meditation because I've grown in understanding and I no longer have to crinkle up my forehead and look confused at you. I'm like, oh, look, a child of God doing their very best today. How can I encourage them? How can I love them? How can I be effective and helpful? The whole purpose of the book is to become usefully whole. When I'm harboring anger, when I lack understanding, I'm not effective. I'm not usefully whole. I cannot be fit for maximum service. Throwing me out for maximum service, it's like throwing a wet cat into your home group. Like, I don't know what, depending on if I prayed that day, what's going to happen? But meditation, step 11 gives me that grounding. Bill talks about breathing. I touched my earphone. I'm getting used to these, but if apparently I touched it and just continued. But what I was talking about when Bill is talking about instruction on how we meditate, and that's another great thing about our program. You don't have to guess how to do this. Some valuable and definite suggestions in the 12 and 12. Then how will we meditate? Like it's all in there. You can follow the instructions and it's easy to follow. So Bill talks about the breath, about breathing in. And he talks about a lot being in the sunlight of the spirit. And breath has become like the fact through meditation, I can now, I can just take a deep breath and find peace in that, just in the life force that is breath in and out of my body. I told you I have ADHD. Meditation allows me to focus and center my mind and my intention. Um, the greatest thing is that people around me say, "Man, you have changed." Thank God. Thank God. Change I must, or die I will. Right? The same woman will drink again. I have to change. I have to grow. Meditation has been a changing force in how I perceive the world, how I receive the world, how I exist in the world. Like, and I'm not great at it. God, listen, I told you I started with a 2-minute YouTube meditation. I was like, I'm doing great. And but I do it every day. I made a commitment to it. And, when I meditate, my mind wanders. I'm a time traveler. You don't know that because it looks like I'm here, but I can sit here and I can go to the future and I can go to the past, and I will never leave the seat I'm sitting in because my brain jumps around like everybody else's. But just the gentle act of bringing it back. Just the gentle act of bringing it back. I used to think you had to be good at meditation, and that's not what meditation's about. It's the act of meditation. It is the effort that we put forth. God will not make too hard of terms for those who seek Him. And so, just by making a commitment to it, my life has changed exponentially. People around me have noticed. The worst thing the most recent thing, 2 years ago, I had gotten a big new job and big new, promotion. I was making a lot of money and I had a title, and I had a trauma response. I didn't know what it was when it happened, but I scared. So I got big. I got real big and real loud and real aggressive at my new job, to my boss, to my new boss. Because when I, mess up, I don't like to mess up a little. Like, I'm going straight to the top. I'm not gonna, get in a fight with a coworker. No, I'm gonna cuss the executive director out. Like, take me to the top. I gotta be heard. And I just went berserk on these fine people, and it was crushing. Um, they recognized it as a trauma response. I didn't. I know the next day I was still shaking. I was rocking in my bathtub, repeating, "I am safe. I am safe. I am safe." I didn't know what that was, and I was able to get some outside help to deal with some trauma that I had been, I guess, thinking I'm fine until you're not, and that kind of happened. Uh, and I'm a director of nursing, and so I have people that work under me, and several of the nurses said, when Amy gets mad, or when she's irritated with us, it's intimidating and it's frightening. Um, I took 2 weeks off work and I did nothing but meditation and prayer and fasting, and meditation and prayer and fasting. Um, when they go back now to talk to my employees, they all say, "She's so kind. She's so patient. We feel like we can go to her with anything." I just laugh and laugh because a year ago that wasn't the way it was, right? But the more I commit to meditation, the more I commit to, and of course, prayer. I don't say enough about it. I do want to say this: there's so many prayers in the book, and they are all. That's what I pray. I pray those prayers. There's also like warnings about prayer, like don't pray for yourself. Don't pray for this, don't pray for that, or but the third step prayer, the seventh step prayer, the step 11 prayer, the fourth step prayer. Like, I pray those prayers. I try to. What I love is when and here's a lofty goal: conscious contact. Conscious contact. I try to see, when I review my day, did I maintain conscious contact? Typically, no. I'm in the car and space out. I'm in a meeting and I'm only doing, what's in front of me. I'm dealing with patient, whatever. But if I can take that breath, and if I can bring God into every conversation, every interaction, every decision, every move I make. Bring God in, bring God in, bring God in. And when I have a conscious contact with God, right, I'm in much less danger of anger, worry. I'm not going to burn energy foolishly. Um, it's all in there. Thank God that it's a progress, not perfection deal. Um, I don't know that I'll ever be perfect at it. I don't know anyone who is, even the men and women that I are my heroes and sheroes, but I love this journey. I love this journey. I love taking women into step 11. Um, was a 10, say a prayer, 12 step worker, you know, for 5 years of my recovery. And today I'm a 10, 11, 12, and every bit of 12. Whenever I get a chance to talk to people about uh, the commitment to meditation and really incorporating that in their lives, and the results are undeniable. And what it does is it makes me belong to this human existence. It makes me your brother and your sister. It connects me to you. It gives me a sense of belonging in a world where I never felt I belonged. Put breath, put breath, you know, but peace, but silence. To sit in silence. My life was so chaotic. My brain was so chaotic. There always had to be noise on. A TV, a radio, an argument. I'm gonna bust the windows out past the Christmas and the madness. Noise and chaos, and I thrived in that. And to find a place where I can just sit with, not even on my phone, just sit in stillness. Like that's remarkable. When it's happening, I don't think, "Oh, you're growing," right? The results are in my actions and my behaviors, how I experience life, and how I move in this world. That's where the results are seen. So I love Step 11. I was late to the Step 11 party, but thank God my sponsor just let me kind of, now let's do this. And the more I do it, the more I get out of it. I can't, if you're new, if you're struggling, if you like me, I don't know how, I don't do that. I call bullshit. There's too much information out there for you not to be able to find something, and just make the commitment. Hit the commitments 2 minutes a day, 3 minutes a day. Here's what I promise. If you start and you make the commitment and you do it consistently, you'll want more. You'll want more. If you have alcoholism, if you have what I have, you suffer from more. So when something feels good, are you you want more. And with meditation, I want more. I want more peace. I want more love. I want the capacity to be effective and understanding as I move through through this world. So um, I love you guys. I can't wait to hear from you. That's what I'm really here for, is to hear you all. And I just thank you for letting me share my love of Step 11.